Hi, my name is Scott Dowdle, and I'd like to talk to you about the MiSTer FPGA Atari Jaguar core work in progress. They had a new update on July 10th, 2025 that greatly improved CD support for CD games with the Jaguar CD, and also an easy to use virtual light machine that's been part of the Jaguar CD since it came out in the mid-90s. It now works in the Jaguar core, and I am a big VLM enthusiast, so I kind of want to show you that. But here's the Jaguar core. It's been playing pretty much the entire library of cartridge games, but now let's talk about CD games. So right now it's in Tempest 2000 cartridge. So I'm going to bring it down. Let's just reset the configuration on the core. So I'm going to say reset settings. Yes. And then I'm going to reload the core. And you can see it's dated July 10th, 2025. Alright, it should come up. It's still got the Tempest cartridge loaded. Let's restart the MiSTer and show you how fast the MiSTer restarts. There we go, and having it coming up with a different screen background every time. But let's go down to console. Let's go down to Jaguar. There we go. Now we should get the dead Jaguar screen because the settings are reset. It's just like I copied over the Jaguar core. That would be what happens on a physical Jaguar if you turned it on and if it powered on with no cartridge in it, or if you have a bad cartridge. That just means we don't have a game loaded. So normally we'd bring up the on-screen display, pick a cartridge, but I'm going to work with the CD stuff down here so you can see what it's like. CD session 1 means VLM. They should just change it to say VLM. If you set it on sessions 2, that means Jaguar CD game. So I'm going to go ahead and set it for Jaguar CD game just so I can show you that those will load and work. I'm going to say CD enabled and then CD inserted. And I have to load the CD BIOS. And now it'll come up. And that is automatically the virtual light machine or VLM display. So we just need to load a game. So I'm going to say load CD and then go to where I have my CD files. These are all in CDI format. It seems like there are maybe more than one CDI format or some bad media out there because some of the CDI files I've encountered don't work. Once you get them in the proper format, they definitely will. And there's most all of the retail games there in the CDI format. So let's load Battle Morph. I'm not going to play it or anything, but I'm going to let it come up and you can see that it works. Now they don't have a memory cartridge implemented yet, so there's no way to save any games from the CD games. But there's definitely, a showstopper for anybody who wants to see if they can get through the entire game. But again, we'll see that down the road.
This is the battle cruiser Sutherland. All other federal battle cruisers have been lost after investigating permission activity in the Persia Star Club.
How about Dragon's Lair? VidGrid's also a one that people seem to like a lot. Maybe I should have loaded that one.
Dragon's Lair, a fantasy.
And I've heard from a few people that they actually got through the first level, and I think maybe it crashed on them when they got into the second tier of videos. I don't want it playing that because I don't want it to give me a copyright strike. Yeah, we know there's no there. Here's all the different videos I have. You can see at the bottom Aerosmith Crying, Peter Gabriel, Sledgehammer, Guns N' Roses, November Rain, etc. and so forth. Well, now let's get into the VLM. So I'm going to bring up the menu. I'm going to change CD sessions to 1. And let's just restart the Jaguar. Excuse me, the MiSTer. I'm going to start fresh. Show you how to do it. All right, console. Jaguar. Pretty much everything I did before except for sessions 1. Now the music currently has to be in a very specific format that's easy enough to convert with Audacity, and I can give some instructions on that if anybody wants some later, but I'm not going to include it in this video. But I need to load a bin file, and I've converted the Defender 2000 soundtrack into 3 parts, the Tempest 2000 soundtrack into 4 parts, and the TXK, which is a game from the PlayStation Vita. It's like what came after Tempest 2000. So I'm going to load the TXK part 1, and this takes a while, and while it's loading I'll and I can't do anything until it's done loading, but I'll tell you about the screen behind me there. That is as I mentioned, I think maybe the VLM, Virtual Light Machine, audio playback controls, and it has a bogus information for track and time and what tracks are available, but it'll correct itself once it gets done loading this, and we load a Q file to associate with this particular bin file. Anyway, C will stop the music, left and right will rewind or fast forward. Since the music I'll be showing you is a single track, there's not a way to switch tracks or go back and forward among the tracks. B will play the music, and then underneath there, kind of obscured by the lower portion of the loading square there, there's some things, normal mode, and then a repeat, whether you want repeat track, repeat list. Then the far right thing says VLM, and the normal mode is where you can engage with all the different banks of effects. There are 9 banks of effects to pick from, 1 through 9, and each bank has 9 effects, so 9 times 9 is 81. The first 8 banks are pretty automatic, although some of them allow for interactivity, but the 9th bank is exclusively for interactivity, and those are different effects that you can interact with and do a lot more dynamic stuff with. But now that it's done loading almost, I'll show you how to do stuff. So you have to hit, once it comes back up, you can see that it still has bogus information for the tracks. So even though I've loaded the bin file, I need to load a special Q file to go along with it. It's actually a bin Q, or Q bin, that Gray Rogue, the primary Jaguar core developer, created to help it make it easier for us to play music in this sort of temporary situation we're in. Oops, there it is right there, audio.q. I'm going to load that, and then it will be what we need to play this music file that I've loaded. I've got 1 track. This thing will play anything up to 45 minutes in length. You got to make sure that, again, when you convert your music, that the file size is less than 500 megabytes, or it's not going to be able to load. Anyway, B to play the music. So you can see it started playing it immediately, and we've got our show effect back there. So if I just hit the A button, it'll get out of the controls, and in the bottom left you see the bank, which is bank 1, and the fourth effect, and you can see the track 1 on the right there. We only have one track, and it's doing playback time, so it's 27 seconds into it. I'm going to bring up the control menu again by hitting A twice, and then I'm going to hit the option button to go down to the center menu here, and I'm going to arrow over to VLM and put VLM in random mode. And now I can hit A to exit back out, and you can see it's still on 1.4 in the bottom left, a bank 1 effect 4. But if we wait about 20 seconds or so, it will randomly switch to another effect. Generally, I think it stays within the bank that it's in, so bank 1 until it's used, until it's gone through at least all 9 of the effects once, and maybe a couple more times, then it'll switch to different banks. Sometimes I believe I've noticed it changing banks effects when like some big change in the music happens, like if it gets quiet and all of a sudden has a big drum pattern or something. But anyway, you can still automatically interact with this thing if you want to. I'm going to turn my camera off here so we don't miss anything on the screen. Alright. So, let me tell you, once you're on the full screen here, you can hit Option and see how it says VLM above the time there and it flashes away. If it's upright, that means you can modify stuff. If it's upside down, that means you can increase the volume by hitting the up arrow.
Is everything.
Turn it back down. You can also jump to a track by hitting one of the numbers on the number pad, but since this is one track, again, that's kind of irrelevant. But I'm going to hit the options button again. Notice how VLM on the bottom right there flashed for a second. It's up and it's right side up. That it switched to effect. I thought it switched to 1.6. Did it go back to 1.4? Anyway, we can hit. I'm going to go to bank 2 effect number 1. So I'm going to hit 2, 1, and then it's going to change the effect. I can go 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 1. I'm just randomly picking banks and randomly picking effects. 3, 3 is kind of cool. 3, 4, 3, 5, 3, 6. So you can walk through all these different effects and see with 81 of them, there's a whole lot of variety there. There's even a special way to get into edit them that I'll show you. There's an article that kind of briefly talks about how to edit it, but I don't know how to do that. But I'm going to hit C to stop the music. I guess I need to bring up the controls again. I'll hit stop. There we go. Then I'm going to go to just the blank screen. You can hold down asterisk 0 and then 1 and 3 on the keypad, and you get to a special mode. And in this mode, you hit up and down 8 times. 6, 7, 8. Is that 8? There we go. And then you can edit effects and do like that. You can modify any of the existing 81 effects, I believe. I don't know how to do that yet, so I'm not going to get into it, but I'm going to hit B on that just so you can see some of the stuff that you can get into. Anyway, to back out of these, they don't show you on the screen what to do, but you hit C and C again and C again, and you'll be back to the regular display. So I'm going to hit A and start playing again. Oops, I need that. Let's hit Option to go back up to the controls. Now hit B to play again. At any time, you can hit the pause button, and that'll pause the music, and you can unpause it.
Space is everything.
I'm going to go out there and change the effect. Let's say 7.2. Anyway, it's pretty cool, and you just put it on random and chill to some music. Turn the lights off, maybe get a mood-altering beverage or whatever your state might legally allow, and just enjoy the light show and zone out. It's pretty fun. So anyway, that is the VLM. I love it to death. I'll show you before I get out of here. Bank 9, I'll say Bank 9.1, and notice it gives you kind of a star field, but it's not doing anything with the music. Well, if you hit the B button, you get an effect, and you can use the D-pad to move stuff around, like I'm going up or down. It's still randomizing, so I'll quit hitting the B, and you can see the pattern's going to go away. But I can hit B to do some more stuff and move around with the D-pad. If you want to play with these, you probably want to take it off random so it's not switching every 20 seconds. But anyway, so I will hit the A button twice, hit the option button, hit B on that to change it to just VLM, and now it won't be switching, and I can hit option to go back up, and A to get out. And now, if I just sit here forever, it'll be 9.3, but let's do 9.1. Here we go. This one's a little more obvious, so you can see. If I hold down the B button, I've got stuff. I can go up, I can go down, left, right, and then the C button will do a strobe or a flash. So, like if you're trying to be a DJ and do it to the music. Maybe not that frequently, but you get the idea. But yeah, there's 9 different things that have different effects. Like I just switched to 9.2. I don't know if this music lends itself to this sort of interaction, but you get the idea. Here's the pattern for 9.3. 9.4. Let's just go to 3.3 and be less interactive and enjoy it. 4, 5. But most people won't, they'll play with it and learn some of the effects and go, ooh, that's cool. And then we'll stick it in random mode. Which again, from the screen, hit option, go down, hit B on that, make it VLMR, option to get out of that, A, and then A again to make the display go away. And then you can just enjoy the light show. And it does, you might have to study it and watch it closely for a while, but you'll start to notice that it does actually do stuff with the music and react to the music, different aspects of the music. Sometimes it's the low drum portion, sometimes it can be the high stuff. It just depends on how each effect was programmed, because if you read the documentation on how you can make your own effects, you can't save them, but you can play with them. You can see that there are parameters in there on reacting to different ranges of audio frequencies and that sort of thing. Anyway, I just love the VLM. Again, it was made by Jeff Minter. Wasn't his first light thing. The first I think he did on an Atari 8-bit. Then he did one on an Atari ST. And then I think the Jaguar was after that. And he did do the light show for the Xbox 360, I believe, which I've seen videos of, but I don't own an Xbox 360, so I'd like to get one of those someday. And he also did a light machine for the Nuon DVD players that came out in the late 90s that didn't last very long, and some of them had, it was basically the VLM2. But I've got a Nuon with a limited number of effects, and I just really like the Jaguar one, and I'm just so happy that the Jaguar Core now lets us play with all this stuff, and if you're new to it, I think you can have fun. For me, it was a lot of nostalgia, because I did have a Jaguar CD for a bit of time when they first came out, and I really enjoyed the Jaguar in its first life span, and I'm glad to see that the MiSTer folks now have a Jaguar Core that is pretty close to being full functional with the range of everything the Jaguar could do. They've even got basic network stuff, but there's only 2 Jaguar games that play network, and it's not fully functional yet. But I'm just saying, I wouldn't be surprised if Battlesphere could be in there. And network play game at some point, if they decide to put in the effort for such low benefit for just 2 games, Doom and Battlesphere. Anywho, hopefully you learned a little bit, and you can experience this if you have a MiSTer. Thanks for watching.
Space is everything.